Peace and love. Peace and love, y'all. I'm not gonna lie. This live feels a little nerve-wracking. Like I'm a bit nervous. I'm not gonna lie. I guess it's because I'm getting deeper and I'm sharing more, and that's okay. That's okay. But welcome in. Welcome to the live. So, if this is your first time coming across this space, honey, my name is Jess. I'm a spiritual guide and speaker. Hey, beloved. I lead individuals back home to their higher selves, okay, through healing, transformation, reclaiming, and overall self-development, okay? But if you haven't already caught the previous live, I would advise you to go back and watch that one, because that's a continuation of this live, okay? Just me telling my story and speaking my truth. So y'all vibe out with me for a little bit. And like I said, I guess that's why this is a bit nerve-wracking, because I'm getting deeper into my journey. You know, I'm getting deeper into my truth. And like I said before, a lot of this I haven't shared with anybody. Yeah. So y'all come in and vibe with me for a little bit. And if you are catching the playback, honey, sit tight and vibe out for a minute, okay? But if you haven't already taken note of the title is The Untold Truths of Manifestations. And I named it this because I believe there's many manifestation and life coaches, experts out there or anyone who has just built a successful empire or a successful legacy. I feel like these people, most times, they don't show the climb, right? They don't show the journey. It's 222. I love that. It's 222. I'm right where I'm supposed to be, and you're right where you're supposed to be, beloved. So thank you for being here. Yeah, they don't show the climb. You know, there's a lot of untold truths about manifestations and about manifestation and the journey. And I feel like people are afraid to share because it comes from a place of fear, of course. Just the fear of not making it, you know, the fear of embarrassment, okay? Because you really have to have tough skin. You have to have a strong mind when you're on this journey, when you take that leap of faith, when no one else sees it but you. And that's okay. As long as you feel it, your spirit, your soul feels it, as long as you see it, that's all that matters, right? But you also have to be prepared to just look crazy to some people. And again, that's okay, because those are the people that you have to block out. You have to block out the naysayers, right? But to be honest, like, people want to see the journey. People want to see the journey. They want to see the climb. They don't just want to see, you know, pictures from way back then, and they don't want to hear all the stories all the time. Like, no, they want to be in the making with you. Because if we're being honest, we are all just figuring this shit out. We are all taking life day by day, figuring it out, okay? And most times, we're starting from scratch. So, and if y'all see me looking off, I have my mirrors around me, because that's what helps me feel most comfortable when I'm speaking, are my mirrors. So, but yeah, let's jump back into the journey. So, where I left off the last live, I was in my house of healing. That's what I called it, my house of healing. Peace, Billy, how are you? I was in my house of healing, and that's when I took the leap of faith. This was October 2023. What I did is I sat my son down. He was like 11 at the time. I sat him down, and I gave him a talk, and I asked him, you know, do you trust me? He was like, yeah, I trust you. I said, do you believe in me? He was like, yeah, I believe in you. Because my son, he's my number one supporter. Like, listen, as long as As long as I have the support of my children, as long as they believe in me, and as long as I'm believing in myself, listen, that's all I need, okay? And he considers himself conscious. He does. He considers himself woke, honey. So I'll give him that. You know, he learns a lot from me. He's already seen, he knows his mama's power. Let's just say that. He knows my power. So he supports me. And once he gave me that green light, I was like, cool, let's go. Let's take this journey of manifesting the life that I know that we deserve, that abundance, that freedom, that sovereignty that I know we deserve, right? And then my daughter, she was around 3 or 4 at the time, so she would have just been, she's just been down for the ride. She's been down for the ride, okay? So that's the beautiful part about it. But she's grown so much. She's so intelligent to the point to where now she's starting to ask questions about our journey. But anyways, so after I got that confirmation, after I got the go from my son, he started packing that night. But I sold a lot of my things and I packed some things. I stored some things. I put some stuff in storage, and then we packed light. We packed light and we were off. Now, the first person that I thought to call at this time was my aunt, my great aunt, my beloved grandmother's sister. I called her, and I'm going to spare y'all a lot of details because, listen, there was so much that happened in this time. There's been so much magic. There's been so much. I'll be talking for days. So I'm just going to spare y'all some details, okay? A lot of details, okay? But I called my aunt. I called my great aunt. I was like, hey, can we come stay? And one thing about Black people, okay, if you're going to stay with them, you're going to need 2 things. You're going to need a time frame, and you're going to need some money. So you're going to have to help out. That's just that. Never seen a Black household who didn't ask for those two things, period. But she opened her doors to us. She just asked for those 2 things. I need to know when y'all going to be leaving, and just, give me whatever you can give me every month. I'm like, okay, cool. So I said 3 months. That was just the first thing that came to mind. I was like, okay, just give me 3 months. I'm thinking it's going to be a breeze, Spirit going to give me the answers. It is what it is. We getting to where we going fairly quickly is what I thought. So, to spare y'all some details, when we got there, we got settled in. One thing I will share with you all, the lesson that I learned before I shared the lesson, let me go back and say, I was working a 9 to 5 at this time. I had a job. I was working. So that's one. I was working my job and I was working my magic, honey, period. But one thing, hey, beloved, you caught a live, girl. My bestie on live supporting. Hey, girl. I will share a lesson. So the lesson I learned living with my aunt was never to do magic in somebody else's house. Period. Never do magic in somebody else's house. If it's not your safe space, if it's not your dwelling, if it's not your temple that you've created for yourself, do not do magic in someone else's house. And this is something that I had to find out the hard way. I wouldn't say the hard way because it wasn't just too hard. It was an uncomfortable way. I'll say that. Yes, because the spirits, everybody has spirits in their home, right? We all have spirits in our space. And if you are doing magic without the consent of the owner, that's one. And then 2, they have their familials, they have spirits that they don't even know. I wouldn't say that they don't know that's in their house. They have their spirit team, their ancestors, and that doesn't mean that they fuck with you like that. On top of that, they have spirits in their home that you're disrupting, disturbing, and then you got to undo some shit, right? But I'm grateful it didn't go that far. So when I realized that, when Spirit revealed that to me, that's when I went outside. I started doing my magic outside. This is a house this is a house that I grew up around. My aunt, my great aunt, she's been in the same house for 30 plus years. So I'm familiar with the land. I'm familiar with the house and things like that. So I started going outside. I started just giving offerings to the spirits of the land, to the nature spirits. And they welcomed me. So I started doing my magic there. And the work was still being done, okay? I was still healing from the previous relationship. I was still healing. So there was a lot of self-development, a lot of shadow work that was being done. And that time was an error in itself, I'd say. I'll say that. But the end of 3 months came. Spirit really wasn't clear. I didn't really know what to do. Okay, I didn't know what to do. So let me go back. No, I'm gonna spare some details. So what I did, I got on the phone and I started calling women's shelters. Listen, I've been homeless before when it was just me and my son, where nobody took us in. You know, I was homeless before. So, and I stayed at a women's shelter. No, I'm not on TikTok Live. But so I just started calling around, and this one place was like, okay, well, we'll get back to you. We'll see what we can do. So I got off the phone and I just sat there. You know, I remember just sitting there. And I remember hearing, go to your mom's house. And I was like, what the fuck? Go to my mom's house? At this time, me and my mom, we weren't talking at all. We have a very tumultuous relationship. And at this time, we weren't on good terms. And I immediately got scared because I'm like, okay, is this, you know, me just being fearful? Is this fear talking, or is this you speaking to me, Spirit? So I sat on that. I sat on that for like a day. And literally the next day, I heard the same thing. Go to your mom's house. Go to your mom's house. So I'm like, fuck. Okay. And, you know, one thing I can say about my mom, you know, she's going to be there when I call her. Anytime I've ever needed her, she's there. You know, it's going to come with a whole bunch of shit, but she's there. And two things for sure, she's going to step behind her grandchildren, even if it's overstepping boundaries. And that's where a lot of our issues come in at. That's neither here nor there. But, so yeah, she was like, yeah, come on, you know, come to the house. We got to talk. So we found ourselves at my mom's house. You heard me. We found ourselves at my mom's house. I'm back at home. This is my home. Shout out to Pleasant Grove, honey. This is my home. I'm back in my old room. My children, they loving it. They at Granny house, you know. Cool. We had to talk overnight. She asked for them two things. She asked for a time frame, and only thing she didn't ask for is money. She said, hey, just, you know, do what you got to do to get on your feet, whatever. And I'm like, okay, of course, I'm not telling her the plan. I'm not telling her what we're doing. I didn't tell anybody what we were doing until later in the journey, because, you know, that's sacred. You have to keep that to yourself. So I was like, cool, 6 months. We agreed on 6 months. So she was like, okay, 6 months. Cool. In that time, I was still working my job. I was still working my magic. Listen, two things I'm going to always do as far as spiritual work. I'm going to always do protection work and money work. That's one thing I'm going to always do. So I was still working, still doing my work, still healing, and just sparing y'all some more details. As time went on, I soon seen why Spirit led me back home. It was clear. There was a lot of healing that me and my mom had to do. There was a lot of things that I had to see about her. And on top of that, the main thing is my beloved grandmother. She passed away last year. And that was the matriarch of my family. Like, her and my mom were cool, they were close. And me and my grandmother, we were close. Like, we were like this. That's my girl. And I always spoke to her like that, and I still do. Quick story time about my grandmother. First of all, she passed away of dementia. She pretty much withered away from dementia or whatever. And we have the type of relationship where it's just like, girl, what are you in here doing? What are you in here doing? And my granny, she was the type of woman that kept herself done head to toe whenever she stepped out, whether it was just going to the grocery store. And she would be like, girl, I'm going to go catch me a man. I'm like, mama, girl, relax before I tell Papa, you know. But it was always the utmost respect. But that was like my good Judy. She's also a Gemini. So we like this. Always have been like this. But I remember like she started to get to the point to where she didn't want to do anything. She didn't want to move. She really didn't want to eat. She was just getting tired. She was getting tired. And I kid you not, she stayed with my aunts. My aunts lived with her. They lived with her. They were her caretakers. I kid you not, I would get calls almost every day. Jessica, come get your granny. She don't want to get up. She don't want to eat. Mama done fell on the floor and we can't get her up. You know, and it was just like, okay, cool. I'm on my way. This is my girl. This is my granny. I'm on my way. And I kid you not, every single time I came to this is when I was living in the house of healing. I was the house that I just left. I call it the house of healing. If you catch the last live, you will see. But I was just a few exits away from her. So I would always come when they call. And you know how they say babies and elders, they are the closest to spirit, because one is coming and the other is going. So the veil is thin for both of them. Every time I would come, she would say the same thing to me. She would say, I'm just tired, Jessie. Like, they getting on my nerves. Like, they don't want to just leave me alone. It was always that. And I'd be like, I know, mama. Like, I know. But come on, let's get up off this flow. Or come on, let's eat. And I sit there and I eat with her. Be like, this is good, girl. You ain't eat your food. You know, I just came with that type of spirit and that type of energy. And she moved for me. I was literally the only person my granny moved for. And I will forever cherish that. But at the same time, I understand why, because she was surrounded by so many energies that her spirit wasn't resonating with. She was getting to the point where she was seeing her passed on loved ones. There was a baby that she had with her in her room all the time, and she would always be trying to shush it, the baby's crying. And my aunts, they would like gaslight her. Like, mama, ain't nobody there. Like, you know, don't do that. Mama, ain't no baby here. And that would drive somebody crazy. You hear me? That would, picture you watching me on live right now. Somebody passed you. What you doing? Oh, I'm watching Jess on live. I don't see nobody on your phone. Who is that? I'm watching Jess on live right here. Ain't nobody on that phone. That'll fuck you up in the head, right? That'll fuck you up. And that's pretty much what she was experiencing. So anytime I sat with her, I would always just, you know, if she spoke about the baby, you know, I would just carry on in conversation with her. If she said that, you know, she seen my great aunt or her mother, I would always say, hey, tell them I said, hey, you know. And it got to the point where I stepped in, I had to tell my aunts, like, hey, don't do her like that. Don't do her like that. Because her experience and your experience, totally different. And of course, these aren't spiritual people that I'm speaking to, but it doesn't matter. You know, y'all have different experiences. If she is saying she is seeing and she is hearing these things, let her carry on as such. It's okay. You know? But back to the journey. My grandmother passed away, and I needed to be there with my mom to support her. Quick note, if you do have a family member that's suffering from dementia or any type of Alzheimer's, please reassure them. Please be patient and be gentle with them, okay? Again, know that their reality is not your reality. Back to the journey. So at my mom's, we got to the end of 6 months. Okay. 6 months came and spirit still really not loud. I'm just like, okay, what's next? What do I do? Where do I go? Like, what's going on, source? Literally a week before it was time for us to go, literally a week before it was time for us to leave, I alchemized $15,000. Fell in my lap. $15,000. And on top of that, I had some savings. I saved some money for my taxes, for my tax returns. So I'm like, okay, perfect. This is perfect. I can now purchase our motorhome and get us this, and this, and that. That was the plan before we left home. This is what I sat down and talked to my son about. I sat down and I was like, hey, because we have a lot of commonalities, me and my son. He's a nature boy. He loves being outside. He's a water sign. So he loves being in nature, around water, any type of bodies of water. My daughter, she's an earth sign. So we just love being adventurous. And he's always wanted an RV, and so have I. And my daughter, she just sees the Barbie RVs, and she wanted one from that. So I'm like, girl, whatever. But that was the initial plan, was for us to get a motorhome, find a good RV community, settle there until I saved enough money to get a piece of land, and we just built from there, right? That was the plan. So when I got that money, I was like, perfect. Okay, I'm on track. Let me find a good RV. And you can really find a good one. Yes. I've been peeped that, girl. We always been aligned. Anyways, you can really find a good RV, a good motorhome. You know, you can an older model one. You just gotta look. And I stumbled across a gem, honey. So I thought. So I hit up the owner. It was a black lady, actually, and she was like, okay, great. You know, she was selling it to me for a great price, and she was like, okay, well. She was like, I need to transfer the title from Oklahoma to Texas, and that's already in the process. So just give me about 3 weeks, 4 at the max, and, you know, it's yours. So I'm like, okay, cool. So at this point, I called my aunt, and my aunt still lives in my grandmother's home. This is her. That's where she lives at this time. With my other aunt. So I called her. That's the only other place I thought to call, because we had to leave my mom's house, right? Still not telling my mom nothing. She in my ear every day. Have you found a house? Have you found an apartment? Like what? Sending me resources and everything, and I'm having to block it out. I'm having to stay focused and stay tunnel vision, even though inside I'm scared, like, dang, you know? But I called my aunt, and I told her the situation, and this is when I actually told her, okay, I have a sale pending for a motorhome. I had to tell her my plan. Okay. So she was like, okay, yeah, definitely. Come on. Like, bring the kids. That's okay. Which is the house I'm in now, my grandmother's house. I'm trying not to get emotional, so hold on. Okay, so we went to my grandmother's house or whatever, and at this point, I'm online buying stuff for the RV. We finally went to go check it out. I test drove it. Beautiful. It drove beautiful. It was a fixer-upper on the inside, but I was prepared for that because I was going for an older model RV. Anyways, cosmetically, easy on the eyes. It just needed to be gutted out on the inside and remodeled. And, you know, I was like, okay, cool. My aunt's husband, he's like a handyman. He does all that type of stuff. So I pretty much gave him that project, and he was excited about that because it gave him something to do, you know. So I was like, okay, everything is in alignment. Everything is flowing or whatever. And my grandmother's house, where I am now, this has always served as like a safe haven for the family. Always. We have, baby, it's grown people in here who haven't even left the nest yet. Listen. But she has always opened her doors for anybody who needed to come back home, right? I had to come back here when I was in my early 20s with my son because I didn't have nowhere to go. This is where, when I went to the homeless shelter, she finally let me come here because she was mad at me and she didn't let me come here. Like we Gemini, so we can either be like this or we can butt heads, you know. And we had that moment. But, you know, when I did have to come back in my 20s, I just called her. Hey, mama, you know, me and King, we need to come to the house. Okay, come on. We don't got much room, but we gonna make it work. And we was sleeping in my granny room, in my granny bed. Because that's what she made sure this house served as. Just like I said, a safe haven for the family. And let me say this. If you have to go back home to do what you have to do for yourself and for your children, if you have to, baby, please don't let anybody make you feel bad about doing that, okay? Because that's a blessing. There's so many people who wish they had some place to go back to. Don't let anybody ever make you feel bad for that, okay? Just make sure you go with a plan and a purpose. A plan and a purpose, and do what you got to do. Because like I said, that's a blessing. So we get here, we get settled in or whatever, and I am staying in communication with the owner of the RV. You know, every week I'm letting her know, like, hey, I'm still here, pending sale. I'm still interested in the RV. And she will communicate back like, okay, cool, thank you for letting me know, or whatever. But I would say probably like that third week when I hit her up and I didn't get a response back, I immediately knew it was something. I'm like, okay. I gave it another week. I hit her up again. Still nothing. So at that point, I'm like, okay. It's clear. You don't want me to have this RV. You don't want me to have this RV. What do I do? What do I do? I really had to surrender that idea. I had to surrender that idea. I let my children know, like, okay, this isn't what we're going to do, because at the same time, we were having to survive. We were having to make it. So my savings was dwindling. I still had the money for the sale, but it's like, okay, we had to survive. And then it hit me. Spirit said, I gave you that $15,000 for you to make it through, to provide for you and your children, to get you all over that hump to your next destination, to the next step. It wasn't to purchase an RV. And that was very loud for me at that time. Very loud. I surrendered that idea. Spirit said, you need to pour into your purpose, pour into your gifts. I said, okay. And you know what? Now that I think about it, before I left my mom's, I was moved to quit my job. Right before I left, Spirit was telling me to quit my job. Things were aligning, and I had just got a promotion in that job to a different department. And Spirit told me to quit, and I did. My mom didn't know I quit. She just thought I was packing up, because it was towards the end of the stay is when I started feeling like this. So I went ahead and let it go. That's when Spirit told me to start pointing to my purpose and into my gifts. Yes. But anyways, so when I got here, I surrendered the idea of the RV. I'm like, okay, well, let me just focus on building my business. Let me focus on pouring into my purpose and into my gifts and things like that. But I started to get afraid. Like, I really started to get scared because, like I said, we had to survive. My savings was dwindling. That was a really scary time for me. It was. Even though my aunt said, she didn't give us a time frame. She just told me to come, take as much time as I need, get on my feet, blase, blase. I'm like, okay, if that's how you want to look at it, okay. So I remember I applied for about over 100 jobs. I applied for over 100 jobs, y'all. I remember walking into this Family Dollar one day. Store was a mess, honey. A mess. And they had a help wanted sign at the front for a store manager. I said, let me come in here. Let me come in here and get this store together. I don't mind going back to work. And still don't. If I have to go back to work, I will. No problem. I started in retail. My first job was in retail. Okay? At the mall. And I worked myself up in upscale retail, customer service retail, Neiman's, Nordstrom's, Louis Vuitton. Like, it was nothing for me to go into that Family Dollar and get that store in order. Nothing. So when I left there, I didn't call. I applied. I applied immediately. And when I tell you, I called them back to back to back to back for 2 days straight. Did nobody answer their phone? Nobody. Like, I know y'all at work. Y'all on the clock. Nobody ever answered the phone for me. Nobody called me back, even to this day. And that was clear. Spirit say, I don't want you to work. I didn't tell you to go get a job. And out of all the applications that I put in, nobody responded back to me. I had a few denial emails, yeah. I had some denial emails, but other than that, no one ever got back to me. Like, you really have to pay attention to the signs. When you're being divinely led, you really have to just be still and pay attention to the signs. Or you will end up going on a path, a detour that may take you longer to get back where you're supposed to be, if you even make it there. You know? So I said, okay, I got to put this fear down. And I have to know that I'm going to always be provided for, because I've always been provided for. It may be right at the nick of time, but you have to trust that you will be provided for. You will get what you need when you need it. Like I said, it might come in at the last minute, but it'll come. So I had to surrender that fear, and I had to just pour into myself. Pour into myself. My business, my gifts. Source said, I gave you these gifts. I gave you these abilities. Use them. Tell your story. Before I even left my last relationship, I knew that I was going to have to do this. When at that point where I was mentally tapped out, I knew that I was going to have to tell my story. Something in me, it just felt like it. It just felt like it. And I remember telling Source at that time, I said, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this, but don't have me out here looking crazy. Those are my exact words, Spirit. I'm going to do this, but do not have me out here looking crazy. Even though you still going to look crazy to a lot of people, and that's okay. Those are the people you got to block out. Okay? But in this time, it's been about July. Yeah, this month makes it a year that me and my children have been here in my grandmother's home. And Spirit has gotten so loud, and so loud with the encouragement, with the synchronicities and the confirmations, and to let me know that I'm on the right track and I'm doing the right thing and I'm right where I'm supposed to be, because I'm at the finish line. I am right there at the finish line, and not the finish line to stop, but the finish line so that I can finally begin. That finish line of me completing this journey, and now I've manifested this new life for myself and my children, this new life of abundance, prosperity, freedom, ease, because I took that leap of faith and I trusted my knowing, and I was obedient to everything, that the instruction, that the direction, the letting people go. Had to let a lot of people go. Had to let a lot of people go. I'm trying not to cry again. All in all, though, this has been a beautiful journey. It has been one beautiful, one magical journey. And I know from the outside looking in, someone could easily have a negative impression from my journey and from the decisions that I've made. Trust me, I've gotten a lot of backlash from my family. A lot, but that's okay. That's okay. You just have to stop explaining yourself to people who don't have that mental or spiritual capacity to even lace up their boots to begin to walk your journey, okay? They don't have the mental capacity to lace up the boots to begin to walk the journey. You feel me? You have to block those people out. You have to stop explaining yourself, because it's not going to make sense to them. But as long as it makes sense to you, right? But I don't know if I'm gonna save this live, y'all. Because I'm holding back so many emotions. And I know when I watch it back, it's going to be so many things left unsaid that I wish I would have shared, or that I feel like I've overshared. Because I've grown to become a private person, you know. At the same time, me having to have boundaries, because at the same time I have to be an open book. I have to share this with you all, but these are the type of things that I don't mind sharing because I know that it's going to help somebody. I know that it's going to touch somebody. I know. I hope this has inspired and motivated somebody out there to keep going on your journey, not to give up, that you're at the finish line. You're almost at the finish line. Or I hope this has inspired you to take that leap of faith, regardless of what anybody is saying to you, regardless of how scared you may be. Do it scared. Just do it and watch the magic unfold. Trust me. Trust me. There's a lot of details that I'm sparing you all, and one day I will share. You know, it's a process. It's a process. But all I ask for you all to do is just support. Is just support me by simply liking the videos that I post, by simply watching them in their entirety, right? And then if you feel called to, join the community. If you feel called further, hire me for the support that you need. Okay? Because I show up for you all. So that's how I would want you all to show up for me, is just to support and do the little things. I show up for you all by coming, doing my readings, sharing my content, my downloads and things like that. Spirit drops these things in my spirit. The divine drops these gems in my spirit and say, go speak on that. Because somebody out there needs to hear that. This is a message for somebody. So I'm showing up for you by being obedient to the divine. Will never ask you all for any money. Okay? Because as long as I am staying obedient to my path, as long as I am getting on here speaking my truth and telling my story and following the instruction that the divine is giving me, I will always be provided for. Source will always provide for me in the most miraculous ways. That's where my rewards come from. My rewards don't come from you all. I know where my source and my infinite supply comes from. Okay? I'm gonna end it there. I'm gonna end it there. Because I want to add more to the story, but I'm not. I'm gonna end it there. But as far as the community, and I've already shared this with the community on WhatsApp. So there's so many celestial changes happening around us. Okay. As above, so below. Right now, we are experiencing so much change internally and in our lives. So many revelations. There's a lot that's happening. And these celestial events, they're affecting all of us on different levels in our lives. So a little while after I announced the community, because I wanted to make it free for everyone. Spirit said free. Spirit said free. And since I wanted to tell you this so bad, but I was still sitting on it. Because you said what you said. You remember what you told me. And you've told me this before. But Spirit said you're not giving all your energy away for free. And if you're a part of the community, you will know. If you're a part of the community in a certain group, you will know. Certain things that I share on there are very intimate, and they're very intimate, and they shouldn't be free because it can be easily taken advantage of, misused, mishandled. Okay. So the community is now being housed on Substack, which I'm very excited for. It's a beautiful environment. It's a very effective environment. There will be a paid subscription for those who would want a deeper view, a deeper walk with me on my journey. You were. I didn't want to tell you were right, but I'm telling you now, you were right, sis. there will be more exclusive content for the paid subscriptions, more exclusive content, you know, more intimate content and things that I want to share and how I want to interact with you all. Okay. And then there's also the free subscription. You know, you will get your messages and things like that ever so often. So if you would want to join the free subscription, if you want to pay to join to have a closer walk with me on this journey and just to get a more intimate view and more intimate interactions and messages from me, that's available for you all as well. That is, same name, I believe, The One Who Knows on Substack, but all the information is in my bio. It's in the link in my bio. Okay. So I hope to see you all there. Even the community members, the current community members, I hope to see you there. I know I'll see y'all over there. Other than that, I'm going to leave this one right here. Like I said, I don't know if I'm going to post this one. I was holding back too many emotions, and it affected my speech, my delivery. But that's okay. Again, I hope this has helped somebody, and until next time, beloveds, peace.